If you had told me just over 3 years ago that this would be me delivering a funeral service on behalf of a family that I'd only met through a role I decided to pursue as a funeral celebrant, I wouldn't have believed you. You see, for me, funerals always were really sad, and if I saw a hearse, my eyes would ping and I would think about that family who are on their way to say farewell to their loved one. I didn't know what it felt like to lose someone close to you, to have someone really close to you die. And before I get to that part, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. That I cared for my elderly parents in my home for over 8.5 years. And that was a tough time for many, many reasons. And then my mum died. And then my dad followed her just 3 months later. In between that 3 months, and we were in palliative care with my father, I looked at becoming a funeral celebrant and I signed up for a course. And I spoke to a lovely funeral director who I'd met through an award ceremony I run here in Kent for businesses. And it was Alex at William Whitney's in Sittingbourne who gave me the opportunity to look after my first family. So thanks to Alex, I was given the opportunity to watch some funerals, and it also turned out that I watched 4 funerals in one day. And the idea being that if a coffin came past me and I cried or my eyes went or I was emotional, I wouldn't be able to do this role. But my dad was in hospital at that point, and I said to him in the morning, "Dad, you can't call me today because I will be watching 4 funerals." I said, "But I'll be back this evening and I'll bring him something nice." He had a very sweet tooth, and even though the nurses wouldn't let him have that sort of stuff, it's like, hey, end of life, he can have what the hell he wants. Anyway, I digress. When I returned to the hospital that night, I walked in and my dad had a very bellowing voice, and I walked through the door and my dad said, "Hello, darling, how did it go with the funeral director?" If the ground could have opened and swallowed me up at that point, it would have been right on cue. And just 2 weeks after that particular hospital visit, I had already managed to get Dad home, and he died. And just 4 days after he died, I delivered my first funeral service for a family at this very lectern, not this photo. Since I put that I'm a funeral celebrant on my TikTok profile, it's opened up some really interesting and fascinating conversations with people on this platform. And I thought it'd be lovely to look at some of the things that are brought up in those conversations, because quite often people are looking for inspiration of what to include in a funeral ceremony, where they can find readings or poems, can they have religion if a funeral celebrant, there's all sorts of questions that come up. And I thought it'd be lovely to look at celebrating lives in a different way, especially as I'm literally about to hit my 3rd year anniversary, and also having looked back over my files where I have written in the region of 350 unique poems for the funeral industry. An absolutely fascinating world. So if you have any questions, I will happily answer them.